previously I worked as a lawyer in a traditional finance industry firm, but I was always very interested in the new trends. And yes, then I joined Exporo, a platform for digital real estate investments. And I found that very, very interesting because I think crowdfunding is a great opportunity for many players, right? On the one hand side, for the large amount of private investors that basically get access to invest their money at a time of low interest rates. And on the other hand, of course, to young companies or startups or other business that want to get alternative funding sources. And all this basically was made possible through tech developments, bundling a large amount of investors to invest. And that's what I found really interesting. And of course, in Exporo case, it's the investment in real estate projects. And yeah, it's our slogan, so to say, to enable better real estate investments for everyone. Yes, and what keeps me going? I personally think that this industry, the crowd investing industry, especially in Europe, is still at a very early age, especially also compared to the US. And I think it's actually very, very beneficial and helpful in order to enable innovation and growth and to help young companies to really get started with their business. And that's, I think, what we need in order to move on. Investing in real estate projects originally entailed many obstacles for especially private investors, because it's quite difficult for them to get access to suitable real estate projects due to high minimum investments or high transaction costs or less transparency in case of funds, and therefore also less diversification. For example, if you buy your own apartment, and then you have to put a whole bunch of money into one asset and basically bear all the risk. So therefore, on the other hand, all the regulations that are steadily increasing are making it also more difficult for the real estate companies to raise capital, for example, for real estate developers to finance their projects. And in my view, the tech approach, together with crowdfunding, really enables us to raise capital of private investors in an easy, efficient, and especially transparent way in order to help them to finance their projects. Tokenization allows us to make our process more transparent, faster, leaner, yes, and bring our managed properties even closer to our investors. And as I mentioned before, I especially see the strength in the technology and in the blockchain-based technology. So the decentralized finance in the reduction of minimum investment sums and real-time transactions. And you don't need all the intermediaries anymore that you had before, because through this decentralized, yes, let's say security network, there is sufficient security for the investors. We have a very completely digital process that basically only takes a few minutes. So yes, investors go to our platform webpage and they can select there the projects they want to invest in. So there are detailed pages for all projects explaining the key parameters of the project and providing all the necessary legal documents and project information. And so there they can download also all the data for this project. Then an investor needs to register themselves and go, if they want to invest, go through the KYC process. But also this KYC process, the Know Your Customer process, is completely digital. So we do it with our partner providers in a digital way. So you do it online. It doesn't have to go to the post office anymore, like you used to do in former times. And then basically you consent also to opening the wallet for the tokenized bonds with our partner provider. It's Tangerine. And once you're there, then you can choose which amount you want to invest, and then you click on investing. And at that time, you get all the information, contracts, risk notice, etc., that were already on the homepage, but you get it then via email again with all information for your investment, and then your investment is done. And then also you have your own cockpit, and there you can see the performance of your asset, and you get the information reportings. So always when you want to log in and when you want real-time information, you have access to it through your investment cockpit. We have dedicated teams that are also split between sourcing, so those who are looking for projects in the market, both project developers as well as existing real estate that we acquire for both our product lines. And then we have, separate from there, a due diligence team that really in-depth analyzes the projects in a technical way, but also in a legal way, and also, of course, in an economical way, if the returns are what our investors expect. And then when we have analyzed the project and basically decided it's a good project, it's the promised return, there's not such a high risk involved, or the risks are transparent and we can handle them, then we put them on our platform, and then they are ready to invest. And for example, for the existing real estate projects, we also always have an external valuation report, so that we make sure that the purchase price is at fair value, for example. What we need is, or what I hope for, is that there will be more harmonization, standardization, and also further professionalization of the entire European crowdfunding market. Because I think it's really important that offerings are not only limited to one country, but should be easily accessible all over Europe, which is for the benefit, also of the retail investors who can diversify more their investments. And I think if we are tech-based, then there's no need for country restrictions, but we should really, make offerings all over Europe. And I think there are already steps taken. We have the European Crowdfunding Service Provider regulation that has come into force, and there are further movements on European level, which I really think are important. Further, I also think that now, after recovery from COVID and all this digitization push that has been through the time of the pandemic, and the progress on the regulatory level, I really believe that there will be further need or further interest in crowdfunding offerings. That's a difficult question, actually. I wouldn't really say it's a single person, but I would really say it's the first mover companies, right? I think it's the ones that are really brave and have the courage to do something and to move somewhere where nobody has been before, and also to go in the dialogue with the regulators, with the authorities that also are not so much, or do not know so much what is really going on and where to put it, let's say, from a regulatory perspective. So I think, in the beginning, probably people were laughing also at our idea, saying, okay, you want to make 500 euro investments, or starting with 100 euro or 500 euro, that's ridiculous, it won't work. But in the end, it works, and we have a large customer base. And I think there are many other also competitors from us, or not competitors, but other players in the crowdfunding industry that were brave and took this step. And that's for me, that are the inspiring key players, because they, in the end, go this a bit maybe more difficult step as first mover, and then, as I said, pave the way for the rest. the aim and purpose of the crowdfunding industry as a whole is to, effectively support startups and in order to strengthen the innovation in our European economy. And therefore, I also think it's important to have someone that supports this, this whole industry and takes a look at the legal framework. And I think basically the European Crowdfunding Network is very useful because it's kind of an intermediary between the European institutions on the one hand and the platforms on the other hand. And as I mentioned before, I think it's important that we have uniform standards over Europe and that we really give access to the whole European market and not limit it to borders. And therefore, I think it's really, really great to have an institution like European Crowdfunding Network to represent us on a European level and still, be an independent voice and not really pursuing the goal of an individual platform, but rather to promote the entire political and regulatory discussion, but to stay in close contact with each industry player and the platforms in order to know, what are their needs and what are their concerns, in order then to bundle all of this information and speak with one voice towards the authorities, institutions, because they need the input from us. And therefore, I think it's really great to have this network. And of course, also to exchange with other players in the market, because I think we can all learn from each other and benefit from each other and get better by that.
Great. Thank you.